Man leaves wife and triplets after DNA test. He's shocked when he sees them years later. Mark and Emily were the kind of couple that made others believe in love again. They met in college, married young, and spent years dreaming about a family. When the triplets arrived, 3 tiny bundles wrapped in identical striped blankets, Mark thought his life had reached its peak. Their small suburban home filled with laughter, midnight cries, and the smell of baby powder. Neighbors often stopped by just to admire how happy they seemed. But late at night, when the house grew quiet, Mark found himself staring at the children's faces. Something about them felt different. He brushed the thought away, blaming exhaustion, but the unease crept back every time one of the babies smiled. Emily noticed his distance but said nothing, afraid to stir what felt like calm waters. As months passed, friends teased Mark about being the odd one out. Light skin, bald head, and blue eyes in a sea of darker curls. The joke stung more than he admitted. When a coworker handed him a small DNA test kit as a gag gift at a baby shower, Mark laughed along with everyone else. But that night, when the babies were asleep and Emily was in bed, he quietly opened the box. 2 weeks later, the envelope arrived. Mark stood by the kitchen counter, the babies napping in their cribs, Emily folding laundry in the next room. His hands trembled as he tore it open. The words hit him like a hammer. Not the biological father. The air left his lungs. For a moment, he couldn't move. Emily came in smiling, holding a baby onesie. When she saw his face, the smile vanished. Mark shoved the paper toward her. "Explain this." She stared at it, her mouth open, shaking her head. "That can't be right. Mark, I swear I've never—" But he didn't listen. He paced, his voice rising. The babies started crying from the next room. Emily tried to calm him, tried to reach for his hand, but he pulled away. His world felt like a lie. That night he packed a small suitcase. Emily begged him to stay, clutching the doorway as he walked past. "They're yours, Mark," she whispered through tears. He didn't answer. The front door closed behind him, the echo filling the quiet house. Outside, the cool night air stung his face. Inside, Emily sank to the floor, 3 tiny cries merging into one heartbroken sound. 5 years passed. Mark lived in a small town 2 states away, running a quiet carpentry shop. To the locals, he was polite and hardworking, but distant. Every night, when the lights dimmed and the sawdust settled, he sat alone in his workshop, staring at an old photo of Emily and the triplets. The edges were worn, but the faces still smiled at him. He dated once or twice, but nothing lasted. The weight of that envelope never left him. Sometimes, he wondered if he'd been too quick to walk away. He pushed the thought down, but regret has a way of finding cracks. One evening, while eating dinner, the television flickered with a local news story. A young mother had started a community foundation for single parents. The camera panned, and Mark froze. Emily stood there, older, calmer, with 3 bright-eyed children beside her. They laughed, their energy filling the screen. Something twisted in his chest. He turned up the volume, studying their faces. The boy in the middle grinned wide, his head tilted just like Mark's childhood photo. The resemblance hit him hard. He sat there in silence, his fork still midair, as old guilt turned into something else, an ache he could no longer ignore. Mark drove through familiar streets that felt like ghosts of another life. The town hadn't changed much. The same diner, the same old oak by the park. But everything inside him had. He parked outside the community center, hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Through the window, he saw her. Emily, laughing with volunteers, her hair tied back, her face softer but stronger somehow. The triplets ran circles around her, full of life. When she noticed him standing near the entrance, the color drained from her face. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then she walked toward him, cautious, guarded. "Why are you here, Mark?" she asked quietly. "I saw you on the news," he said. "I had to see them." Her eyes softened for just a second before the hurt returned. The children ran past, giggling, unaware. One of them, Jake, tripped and scraped his knee. Without thinking, Mark rushed over, kneeling beside him, Jake whimpered, and Mark gently wiped away the dirt. Emily's breath caught. There, on Jake's chin, was a small scar, shaped exactly like Mark's own. She stared, speechless. Mark looked up at her, confused, as something deep in her eyes began to shift. Emily led Mark inside the community center, her hands trembling. The noise of children faded behind them. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded letter, its edges worn from years of being opened and closed. Mark's heart pounded as she laid it on the table. "It wasn't your fault," she said softly. "You were right to doubt, but the test was wrong." He frowned, eyes scanning the page. It was a hospital record, one he'd never seen. The letter explained that during a DNA test at the same lab, another man's results had been mixed with his. That man, it turned out, shared something Mark didn't know he had: an identical twin. Mark froze, the words blurring. Emily's voice shook. "They found him last year. He was adopted at birth. The lab thought he was you." The room tilted around him. Years of anger, guilt, and heartbreak came crashing down, replaced by disbelief and sorrow. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Mark, they've always been yours." He covered his face, shaking. Then, without another word, he pulled her close. The triplets ran in, wrapping their small arms around his legs. For the first time in years, Mark felt whole again. A father, a husband, a family restored.